All right. So, as I like to say with these things, as long as everything is working the way that it should be working, we are now live. I don't know why I clapped that loud. I'm so sorry. But we are now live. So, hello and welcome to everyone who's watching the Written Melanin channel, wherever this day may have found you. I'm so glad that you are here. My name is Chelsea, and I write books about black girls who aren't all that nice. And we are here to discuss what's been going on in the bookish world. I'm sorry, y'all. This morning has been interesting because obviously my character flaw as a human being, honestly, is to be perpetually late and to wait into the last minute to try to do things. Honestly, I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. However, I was like, ooh, new streaming software. Let me see if I can figure it out. Like 45 minutes before I'm supposed to start streaming. Long story short, I was unsuccessful. This will take more planning than what I gave myself this morning, but that is okay. We live and we learn. We live and we learn and we thrive. We thrive. So, shout out to everyone who is already in the chat. Jay Monet was the first one here. So, hello, good morning, love. I hope you're doing great. Miss Woman of Color Reader is also here using her stealth skills on Max to listen while in the office. Love that you're back in the office. Congrats on the new job, love. I don't know if it's still new, but congrats. Darian is here. Good morning. Deja is here. TEB is here. Welcome, welcome. Mags is here. Ben is in the chat. He was also helping me problem shoot, and that was also a journey. So yeah. Yeah. And I always forget to change this back. For anyone curious who's watching this, the reason the chat is always perpetually the wrong color when I start is because my writing sprint background for the chat is light, so the text has to be dark, and for some reason it is always it connects, and then I always forget to change it back until I'm looking at it. I'm like, ew, you can't read that. So yeah, fixed it though. Fixed it. Troubleshooting at its finest. Bianca is here. Good morning, love. La is here. Hi, La. Hi. Okay. Ash is here. Good day, ma'am. Winter is here. Good morning. Good morning. Margaret's here. Checked into YouTube at exactly the right morning. Love when the algorithm comes together and actually sends you guys the notifications for this. I love how you get the notification after I'm late. I feel like I should just be late all the time so you guys show up at the right time, because YouTube will send you the notification 10 minutes later. I feel like that is the way to game the system, you know? We'll see. We'll see. Let's see here. Love Locks, thank you. I got them retwisted because, you know, the Magic of the Melanin release, and I was like, let me look like I care about myself for all of like five minutes. And I think it looks cute. I think it came out great. I always forget like that my hair is growing. So it's just like, oh, whenever she does a retwist, I'm like, oh my God, I have so much hair. When did this happen? I am now at the point, I know nobody cares about this like but me, but I'm gonna share it with you anyway. I'm now at the point where I can put all of my hair up into like a single ponytail, which is like crazy. Like it ain't got no length. It's like a little stub back there, but I'm like, that's crazy. All of it can go into one. Like if y'all been watching the channel, y'all remember when it was like this and I was just looking crazy. And it's wild how your brain works, because I was really like, oh, it ain't that bad. Like I was cute. And I look back at those videos, I was like, oh my God, what was happening with my hair? Y'all didn't tell me? Y'all didn't tell me? It's fine. I wouldn't have listened anyway. I would not have listened anyway. What platform are you trying out? It's called Meld Studio. It's new, it's free, it's cute, it ain't got no chat feature. That's why it didn't work out. I got everything working except for the chat, and that takes like a third-party bot or thing that you have to set up. And me and Ben were both in here like, where is the tutorial? Where are they? And I found a blog post from Meld, and lo and behold, they ain't got no links. They ain't got a single link to the freaking third party that you need to download. And then when you download it, ain't no freaking instructions. And I was just like, you know what? This is a scam. This is a scam. So yeah, that's what I was struggling with this morning. Cheers to hang time and ponytails. Thank you. I still really like my little two whatevers. I'm probably gonna rock that for as long as I can until I get like serious hang time, and I can't do that anymore. I'm also probably gonna dye my hair again, because it's technically, it was red back here, but now it's like brown or whatever. I don't know. I'm thinking of dyeing it again. I was talking to my hairstylist, and she was like, you want to go green? I was like, do I want to go green? So that might be making a return. What do you guys think? Should I dye my hair green in the back again, or no? Just leave it where it's at. It's working. I don't know. But that being said, We got things to do, and I've been rambling so that hopefully YouTube sent the notifications to everybody else who was who was also late like me. So, we're gonna get into this melanin spotlight as soon as like I pull it up because I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared. There's no other way to go about this, but getting myself there. Let's see here. Law said I've had a similar game to this recently. Matt, frustrating for sure. At least you could fall back on the old system though. Yeah. The thing is, it's like it seems like a good system. It seems like nice and easy and stuff. The only issue really is the fact that I didn't know how to set it up. There are ways to go about it. I didn't know. But yeah. Do it. I love how you guys are encouraging me to do it. My hairstylist was like, she's ready because she likes to do custom color, and I'm like, cool, have fun with it. As long as I don't walk out of the shop looking crazy, I'm fine with it. So I've been thinking of purple too because reasons, but I'm also like green is like my color. I feel like that's my signature color, which is great because it's my favorite color, so it works. But yeah. Ooh, I'll be dyeing my hair soon as well, so I'm pro dyeing it. Ooh. I love how all of us are just like, yes, do it. Okay. All right. Focusing. Let's talk about this book right here. See, I'm pulling an Audra. I have the book. Watch. She's probably not even watching this time. She's like, whatever. But I have the book this time. So shout out to the publisher for sending it to me as like a review copy. Perks of running the Melanin Library, your online database of books written by Black authors. This book is called Skin by Ibi Zoboi. Hopefully I'm saying their name right. I'm not entirely sure. Y'all know I'll be messing stuff up. But it is a YA like novel in verse, and it's also like fantasy. So it's interesting. Look at me. I've actually started reading the book, you guys. So if y'all are in the Discord, y'all know that I posted see, I got my tabbies and stuff in here too. Anyway, if you're in the Discord, then you'll know that I've been actually posting some of my thoughts about this. So far, the verdict is still out. It's an interesting premise. So yeah, let me just tell y'all what it's about. How about that? I'm rambling hard this morning. But let's see here. From award-winning New York Times bestselling author Ibi Zoboi comes her groundbreaking contemporary fantasy debut, a novel in verse based on Caribbean folklore about the power of inherited magic and the price we must pay to live the life we yearn for. Our new home with its thick walls and locked doors wants me to stay trapped in my skin, but I am fury and flame. 15-year-old Marisol is the daughter of a Soykant. Soykant? I don't know if I'm saying that right, but hopefully I am. Every new moon, she sheds her skin like the many women before her, shifting into a fireball witch who must fly into the night and slowly sip from the lives of others to sustain her own. But Brooklyn is no place for fireball witches, with all its bright lights, shut windows, and bolt-locked doors. While Marisol hoped they would leave their old traditions behind when they immigrated from the islands, she knows this will never happen while she remains ensnared by the one person who keeps her chained to her magical past, her mother. 17-year-old Genevieve is the daughter of a college professor and a newly minted older half-sister of twins. Her worsening skin condition and the baby's constant wailing keep her up at night. When she stares at the dark sky with a deep longing to inhale it all, she hopes to quench the hunger that gnaws at her, one that seems to reach for some memory of her estranged mother. When a new nanny arrives to help with the twins, a family secret connecting her to Marisol is revealed, and Jen begins to find answers to questions she hasn't even thought to ask. But the girls soon discover that the very skin keeping their flames locked beneath the surface may be more explosive to the relationships around them than any ancient magic. So, like I said, I am just like dipping my toe into this. I am not even 100 pages in yet. So far, it is interesting. It is definitely YA. I got opinions about it, but so far the verdict is still out. So we're gonna leave that at that. My personal opinion will be reserved for the after chat. So this is a good time to remind you to sign up, join the Patreon, or join the channel, whichever one makes you feel happy. $5 gets you into the after chat. $10 gets you into the DNF to book club, which I'll be talking about a little bit later. But yeah, so That's that. That's that. Also, slight reminder that you can also get my book, The Lady Widow. It is novella, the first book of a novella series, space opera novella series about a grieving widow who goes to space to avenge the murder of her husband. There we go. So if you want to get it, I have copies, not currently behind me because I just shipped the last ones off, but I have signed copies. And it's available in KU if you're not boycotting it, which I feel like is a fun segue into some of the things that we need to discuss today. But let's see here. Looking at some of the comments, I remember her retelling of Pride and Prejudice in NYC. It was pretty good. Okay. Andy is here. Hello, love. Almost forgot about the chat this morning. Good morning. Sorry, I forgot to post about it because I was out here trying to figure out how to use this new streaming software. So y'all are the real ones if you're watching this, because I did not tell anybody this was happening. So thank you for being here. Cool. Sounds similar to a Buhag folklore. Yeah. Here's the thing. Honest opinion. It is YA, and I have to remember that because as a grown person who writes grown fiction and reads grown fiction, I have to remember that sometimes the setting up of things moves a little bit slower. My only complaint about this book thus far, and like I said, I'm not very deep into it at this point. My only complaint about this book thus far is just like, I'm kind of like, I got it. Homegirl turns into a ball of flame. I got it. Bring me to the rest of the story. But I also understand that this book is introducing a lot of people most likely to the Caribbean folklore that it's referencing, and so it has to give context for it. So a little bit of patience if you are not young adult, but other than that, so far I don't have any issues with it. But also that is coming from someone who is not Caribbean and not familiar with the folklore, so I don't know how the representation is on that front, but so far so good. But that being what it is, we have some things to discuss, you guys. And this is your quick reminder to go ahead and tap the like button if you haven't already, because it doesn't hurt you and it helps the algorithm. Great. Glad we covered that. Let's talk about supporting Black books and boycotting KU, Kindle Unlimited, if you guys are unfamiliar with the acronym. I think both of these tie hand in hand with each other, especially with where we are in this big old age of March 2025. Crazy. If you live in America, crazy things have been happening, and that's just what it is. That's just what it is. We are living in a very interesting time as a people, as a culture, and things are changing. And in a lot of ways, the Black community as a whole, but definitely the Black bookish community, are taking part in the changes, in the boycotts, especially if you've seen the mass one that happened on the 28th, where it's just don't go to Target, don't go to Amazon, don't go to Walmart, don't go to any of these fast food places. Do not spend your money outside of Black businesses, essentially, right? As far as I could tell, that was successful, but that also falls into or leaks into the bookish community, because now it's people are hey, boycott KU. And if you don't know, Kindle Unlimited is a book reading service offered through Amazon. And so obviously people are if we're boycotting Amazon, we are also boycotting KU, which means canceling subscriptions. And there are a lot of different arguments going around on the internet about whether or not people should be encouraging this. Readers should be encouraged, right? And I think it's interesting. I think the whole conversation is interesting because y'all know me. I be on the outside of the drama. I don't be in it. I just be peripheral, right? What y'all doing over there? But I find it curious because on one side you have authors who are fully invested in KU. That's where their books are. That's where most of their sales come from. That's where most of their money comes from. That's where their lifeblood is for their career. And so they're hey, if you guys are canceling KU, that is hurting us, the indie authors, in our pocket. It's not KU is not a big enough part of Amazon where pulling from it is going to hurt them, right? That's the idea. I don't know. That's just the argument that's being made, right? And so there's that side of the argument, but then there is the reader side of the argument, the boycott side of the argument that's KU is KU, Amazon is Amazon. It doesn't matter how big or how small, we're not doing it. And I feel also that's valid. That's valid. But obviously, there's been this back and forth of where should we go and supporting and coming together as a community. And I was talking to my mom about it, which, hey, mom, shout out if you're watching this. You're probably not, but that's cool. Love you anyway. I was talking to my mom about it, and she was talking about how she was telling me about Tabitha Brown and basically how she has been like, hey, still get my stuff from Target, right? Because that helps and you're hurting my bag if you don't. And, if we don't meet these numbers, they're going to pull our stuff and so on and so forth, right? And obviously she got a lot of backlash for this, right? But what I think is interesting about that is my mom was talking about how, as obviously an older Black woman, she lived through the marches and the civil rights movements, right? And so she was just talking about how it's the backlash is coming from her telling people to break ranks for her, right? And that's never the idea. The idea of a boycott, for it to be successful, is that we all have to be in it together. We all have to support it together. And that is going to inconvenience some people, because obviously the concept is, if you're boycotting a store and they have Black employees, those Black employees are going to be affected. But at the end of the day, the goal is much bigger than the individual, right? And so for me, because I've been kind of sitting on this idea of like, okay, boycotting KU, what does that look like? What does it mean? And I don't know, a large part of me really sides with the readers, where it's just like, nah, Amazon is Amazon. I'm pulling my coins. I'm not supporting it if I don't have to, right? But maybe it's the Libra in me. I understand the author side of it, where it's like, if you have built your career on this and you've built your marketing around this and it's been working for you, because let's be real here, at the end of the year, if you're in the writer community, bookish community, you see all of these people posting this is how much I made on Amazon, this is how much I made on KU posts at the end of the year, and some of them making 6-7 figures off of this, right? And it's a legitimate marketing plan strategy, or at least it was, right? But I think where I stand on it is the fact that as an author, there are times when the world changes, and that's just what it is. The world changes, life changes, and you have to adjust with it. And is it inconvenient? Yeah, but it's the nature of the beast. It's the nature of being alive, right? And I'm just kind of like, it, in some ways, it's very similar to when when TikTok kind of like blew up and imploded, and when Twitter blew up and imploded. And it's like, there are people who had their whole livelihoods connected to those, were like, I am successful because I have taken the time to build a platform here and it works. This is the plan and it works, right? Which is great. But when those things no longer exist, you have to pivot. You have to create a new plan. And I think right now, with authors who are like, hey, I'm on KU, all of my books are in KU, please don't just leave. I think this is the point where it's like, you have to make a choice if you're going to pivot. And at the very least, take all of your eggs out of this basket. They are too expensive to be thinking about breaking all of them at the same time. Okay? Like, I think this is the time as an author where you really have to consider diversifying, where you really have to consider, where do you go from here? And I think if you live long enough, you're going to continuously hit these points where you're going to have to pivot. But, and I feel like that's super inconvenient to say. And I know that part of it is because I, as an author, have always been wide. I've never been like, I'm going to put all of my eggs in the Amazon basket, because ain't no way, right? But I do think that for the authors who have, it's something serious to consider. And for new authors who are getting that advice of pitch your book in KU, do this, do that, this is how people find books and stuff, I do think that advice is going to have to be time tested a little bit. Like, is it still relevant in 2025, being successful in this era, right? So I think there are levels to it. But going back through the comments, let's see. Margaret said, already boycotting all those places for years, but sure, privilege disclaimer, but also be aware. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I haven't been participating. I haven't had KU in a very long time. The only reason I participate in it currently is because I did decide to put the Lady Widow in it, and that is because I want to test the waters. Most of my books are not exclusive. It's literally just the Lady Widow. And it's not going to be in there forever. That was always the plan, for it to just be like a temporary thing. But it's like, hey, let's test the waters. Let's see how this works. Let's see if new people actually find me, right? But it was never, ever going to just be the whole kit and caboodle, you know? Wow, I pulled that out of the archives. Okay. Let's see here. Deja said, I've been wanting to ask Bookshop about, do they plan to have indie books on their platform? I think this is the perfect time to slide through. I think they do, because they opened up the ebook offering, right? And basically, this is also another thing that ties into supporting Black authors and specifically supporting indie authors. But I think the biggest thing with the Bookshop carrying indie books is that bookstores have to carry them, because Bookshop reflects the bookstores, right? And their stock and their support in a lot of ways. So it's just kind of like they are like they're like a middleman, a medium in a lot of ways. But if the bookstores carry the book, then Bookshop will be more likely to carry the book. But it's also availability, because there are a lot of things on the back end that indie authors have to set up that I think they're kind of like unspoken rules, because they're not things that you can just Google. They're things that you learn from trial and error and talking to people. And it's not something that's very commonly talked about, like where you place your barcode, if you own your ISBNs, how you set up your back matter, how you set up your spine. Like all of those things matter to bookstores who are trying to decide whether or not they're going to stock an indie book. And sometimes they'll make like concessions, especially if you're like a local author, or you're familiar with the bookstore or whatever. But in order to really be successful in wide distribution, there are certain, I don't want to say quality markers that have to be set, but that's kind of the best way to describe it. Like quick glance markers that have to be set. It's kind of the equivalent of like if you're applying for a job, there are certain keywords that you're going to put in your resume to make sure that you get through like the automatic system that's weeding stuff out, right? Publishing books are very much the same way. Very much the same way. Let's see here. Andy said, haven't had a KU subscription in a minute. I prefer being more dependent on the library. And I think that's another thing that I feel like is getting kind of overlooked in this whole don't boycott KU. It's just like, you realize that you could put the same energy into libraries, right? And it will be beneficial for everyone kind of in the long haul, right? I think to a certain extent, part of me is like, we as a community, especially authors, have to see the bigger picture. And we cannot fight against change, and we cannot fight against unity, and we cannot fight against, financial boycotts simply because it inconveniences us, because we are benefiting from the financial system. Like you got to diversify, you got to switch it up, you got to change it up. Let's see here. Margaret said you can already get indie books on Bookshop through draft to digital print. So also something else to look into. I want to do a video talking about the different publishing platforms. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know. But there are quite a few outside of Ingram. Ingram is, it's the beast you have to kind of deal with if you want to publish wide in America, because they are the biggest distributor, and their catalog is what it is. But there are multiple ways to access it, so you don't necessarily have to go through Ingram Spark directly. There are more options. So I've been thinking about doing a video like that. If you guys would be interested, let me know, and I'll add it to the docket. But yeah, and then Deja also brought up that KU doesn't even pay all that great. And yeah, honestly, yeah. Like I said, this is probably the one and only time that I actually talk about money on the chat or YouTube in general, because I just personally don't believe in that being like on the wide internet, right? But the Lady Widow has been in KU since it released on January 28th, right? And it's 91 pages in KU. And if somebody reads 91 pages, I get like $1, a singular dollar, if that. And that's being generous. That is being generous. It is not this great, wonderful moneymaker, because if you also pay attention to those authors who are posting like, this is how much I made over the course of the year, you'll notice that they have a ton of books. It's like double digit books, like 12, 24, 30, 50 books in order to hit those numbers. So it's just kind of like, I feel like that is something serious to take into account, because especially if you're like a younger author, a newer author, you haven't been in the game for as long. Like if you only have 3 books, like it's unlikely, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's unlikely that you are going to hit those, I'm making, 10,000, 50,000, 70,000 off of Amazon every year. It's unlikely that you're going to hit that. Now, if you have 30 books and most of them are in KU or aligned with it in some way, then yeah, but the pay isn't great and you have to really play the numbers game. And when you start playing the numbers game, sometimes you have to consider quantity versus quality. And I'm going to leave it at that. Let's see here. Andy said, there's way too much individualism in the Black American community. That's why a lot of these efforts go nowhere. Facts. And that's also why I'm on the side of, if we are coming together as a community to stand together and make change and financially hit these corporations where it hurts in their pockets, I am not going to be the author who stands there and be like, no, don't leave the corporation as a united front because that hurts my pocket. I need to switch up my bag. I need to set up my lemonade stand somewhere else where the foot traffic is going to be heavy because they're shutting down the street here. I mean, I don't know if that analogy makes any sense. It makes sense to me, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like if we are really coming together as a united front, being the one to say don't do it doesn't, I wouldn't want to be that person. Let me just say that. I would not want to be that person. Let's see here. Catching ups. Let's see here. Jay Monet said, too many people think KU and Amazon are the only places to self-publish and refuse to look up other options. Yeah. I feel like as a community, like author community as a whole, not just Black community, that's something that we really have to talk about because things are changing. I know that when I started looking up how to publish, my first book, Keeping Promises, was 100% through KU. It was a free cover, stock cover that I put together with design software. It was really bad. It was really bad. And I edited the book myself. I formatted the book myself, and I put it up on KU, and I did not know what I was doing in the slightest. But when I did my research, extensive, days-long research, weeks-long research, all I could really come up with was Amazon. And it was just kind of like, okay, I guess this is the way to do it. But when you really look up how to publish a book, like you could probably go to YouTube right now and type in how to publish a book, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to see Amazon, you're going to see KDP, you're going to see free ISBN, you're going to see the cheapest way to do it. And the cheapest way to do it is not necessarily the best way to do it. But if you're doing it for the first time and you have no idea what you're doing, that's what's going to come up. So I feel like as a community, we really have to start offering up the information that we know and not necessarily behind a paywall. Like just straight up like, hey, baby girl, I'm gonna help you real quick so that you don't set yourself up for failure. There are a lot of options. A lot of options that are also free, because Ingram Spark, you can upload a book with Ingram Spark for free. Draft to Digital also does not have upload fees. Like the fees come in other places, but if you're going to publish a book, this is information I feel like you should be able to have up front, so yeah. Trying to go back to the chat. Y'all know I can't do two things at one time. Let's see here. Deja said, last I checked, the Draft to Digital option wasn't available for Bookshop yet. They're working on it. Okay, so yeah. Vina said, I trialed KU, but it's too pricey for someone like me who gets most of my books as ARCs or from the library. I wasn't really getting use from KU. Yeah, I feel like, and this has always been my issue with KU, right? I feel like unless you are super deep into reading and you read all the time and you read like voraciously and you can like fly through, you're that person who's reading like 200-300 books a year, then yeah, KU might be for you. But also if you're not doing numbers like that, and you're sitting with the books, I'll say, and you are or you're a slower reader, KU might not be for you, especially if you enjoy like longer books, because the thing is, indie romance still very much dominates KU in a lot of ways. There are other genres on there, but it's still very heavily romance. So if you don't read that either, you know, you have to kind of find what works for you. Um, let's see here. Plus, seeing all the times Amazon has snatched up folks' account and they end up going wide by force. I think it's also that, you know, it's the idea of owning your audience. One thing that I personally have never done, will never do, is whenever I have pre-orders, Amazon is always the last place that I make it available. I usually have pre-orders up for like 3 months ahead of time, and I make it available like maybe on Amazon, maybe like 4 to 6 weeks in advance, if that, because I'm like, I am not encouraging people to get it from Amazon. That's not the best place, because if they decide, hey, you don't upload this in time, or we don't like your formatting, or we don't like your cover, or we don't like your content, or we don't like you, they'll shut it down, and then all those pre-orders just go out the window, and you have no way of contacting those people after that to be like, hey, this is still going on. You lose out all of those sales because they didn't actually purchase from you, they purchased from Amazon. And I just don't believe in giving up your audience like that, because another really big thing is like, especially if you're doing a series, it's like if you have your first book and you have, let's say, 100 pre-orders through Amazon, when book 2 comes out, if you have no way of contacting those people to let them know that the second book is out. Whereas if you do it yourself, you have those emails, you have those order confirmations. You can send the email out and be like, hey, I'm just letting you know that book 2 is out. I'm never going to contact you again unless you want to join my mailing list. That's it. You know, there are more options available. And personally, I'm always going to be a proponent of selling direct, of controlling how you market your book, how you put it out in the world, how you like just having autonomy over your book. Because I feel like as an indie author, that's why you went indie in the first place, is to have control and autonomy over your work. So I just feel like you should also have control and autonomy over how you're selling your book, you know? Let's see here. Trying to keep up. Yes, terrible pay. Let's see here. I personally advocate a double pronged strategy. In this metaphor, hit him in the pockets and then follow up with a kick right between the. Yeah. Let's see here. I did the work to publish my lit mag somewhere else. It's not hard. People gotta let Amazon go. And I also think that people underestimate how many people will actually go to your website. I know that there are some people who are always going to look for like a trusted source, right? And for a lot of people, Amazon is that, and Amazon is going to remain that. It's also the convenient place, right? But there are a lot of people who will go out of their way to buy from you directly. There are a lot of people who will be like, if I could put money in your bag, that's what I'm going to do. And like I said, I'm a huge proponent. If you ever want to get my books, and all of them are available through the Melanin Library, like shop.melaninlibrary.com, you can get any of my books and they'll be signed. They'll come with artwork, stickers, whatever extra goodies I have. And it'll cost you the same amount that it costs on Amazon. So my thing is just like, if you get it from me, you're going to be supporting me. You're going to be supporting the Melanin Library directly. You might not get it as fast, right? But it's going to be signed and come with extra goodies. So it's going to inherently have more value. So I'm kind of like, I don't know, if you're going to pay money for the same thing, might as well get the one that's going to have more value, because let's be real here. You're not going to read this book as soon as I get it to you. You're going to be like, oh my God, it came. And then you're going to put it on a shelf and you're not going to think about it for like another 3 months, realistically. So it's just kind of like, do you really need it? Like right now, tomorrow, do you need that 2-day shipping? Do you? You know, it's a little bit different. Let's see. I saw Keeping Promises on KU. I was shocked to see your name. Yeah. Keeping Promises was a journey. I learned a lot from it. It will probably, it was, I'm not ashamed of it. It's just, we don't talk about Bruno, you know? Let's see. If you did a video about different ways to publish books, I'd watch it. Granted, I need to start researching anyway. Okay. Benjamin or La, whoever's watching this, somebody remind me to add that to the Notion at some point, to do a video about different ways to publish. But yeah, Jay Monet dropped the link to her magazine, so you guys be sure to check that out. Benjamin dropped the link to the Melanin Library, so if you want to get any of my books, We Are the Origin, We Are Dying Gods, Magic of the Melanin, Death Among the Stars, they are available on the site, paperback and hardbacks. I recommend the hardbacks; they're gorgeous, personally. But I can't tell you what to do with how to spend your money. So, but the hardbacks do come with extra artwork under the dust jacket every single time. So there's that. Let's see here. If it's uploaded through Ingram, they put the book on Hoopla too, which a lot of people don't realize. And Hoopla has a pretty good algorithm for recommending books similar to what you've read. Yeah, Hoopla is great, honestly. My biggest thing, because I know I get this question a lot whenever I'm talking to people, like why I deal with Ingram Spark. Because Ingram Spark, let me tell you right now, if you are an author and you are going to go deal with Ingram Spark, they will make you upset. They will make you angry. You will have to deal with customer service, and their customer service is PG-13 stream, but you can any word that you can think of, that's how I would describe their customer service. It is not enjoyable. It's very unpleasant, I'll say. However, it puts your book in a lot of places. It makes it available. It allows it to be possible for it to be in libraries and bookstores. And I am the kind of person where I genuinely believe in being ready for opportunities when they arise. So even if it's your first book, even if you have no idea what you're doing, even if you're like, no bookstore is going to carry my book, put it in Ingram Spark anyway, because you never know who is going to read your book, love your book, bring your book up in conversation, and then be like, yeah. And the first thing the bookstore is going to check is how it's available for them to get it. And if it's not through Amazon, if it's not through their biggest competitor that's actively trying to put them out of business, they may consider getting it. Now, there are some exceptions to the rule. Some authors are big enough where bookstores will buy their book from Amazon. However, understand that those are our exceptions to the rule, not the rule itself. And 9 times out of 10, you are not the exception to the rule. You should move as if you are not the exception to the rule, honestly. But that's my 2 cents. Spin it how you like. But I do recommend at least getting your book in their catalog, even if it's through like draft to digital, because they also distribute to Ingram Spark's catalog. Just there's a lot of research and options that have to be considered, but yeah. My last book, I made $1 more on the Zon. People still go for convenience as well. Yeah. I think that's why you have this trend of authors being like, I'm going to set this book to $100. That way you can find it on Amazon, but you're going to have to go to my website to, you're going to have to go to my website to get it. And I feel like that works. Also, Law cracks me up. We're cooler than Siri. Absolutely. Also, I don't have Siri, thank God. I'm an Android girly, but you guys are great. You guys are fantastic. Because I could see this message from Ben reminding me to do this later. So y'all are great. But yeah, let's see here. Winner said, I'd rather pay the author where they'll get the most money. Plus the goodies make it worth it. I'm a mood reader anyway, so might as well wait. Exactly. Andy said, lies. What did I lie about? I immediately read all books. I'll immediately read all books that I order when they arrive. That's why I'm so impatient for them to get to me. You are a rare breed, ma'am. A rare breed. Because most people are cover junkies and they get the book for the cover, or they get it because it's like Black History Month, or they get it because it's a certain push or marketing tactic or whatever, and then they get it, and then it sits there and it sits there and it sits there and it sits there. It's part of the reason why as authors we have to remind people that, like, hey, if you send arcs out to people, let them know if there's a deadline because it will sit there and they will read other things before they get to it. Some people are going to be excited. Some people are going to wait bated breath to get your work, and they're gonna be like, yes, got it, and they're just gonna dive into it and rip it apart. There are always gonna be those people, but there are also gonna be the people who get it and then they get on the hype train 10 years later and they're like, why is no one talking about this book? And it's like, babes, you're a decade late. Where you been? You know? I love that we have no Siri. It's Benjamin Arla. See, but they get me though. They get me. They understand that I will forget. So shout out to Benjamin and Law for being fantastic. Let's see here. Margaret said Chelsea tells the truth about Ingram Spark, but I find that I get to that place with any publishing platform I've interacted with, so maybe the problem is me. I mean, the thing is, I feel like as an author, the most frustrating thing is trying to make changes to your book or updates, and then it taking forever to approve, and then it taking forever to print the books. Because with the Magic and the Melanin, y'all don't understand the way that I had to be on Ingram Spark and contact them, because I was like, look, this book has been processing for 8 days, 8 business days. It don't take that long to go through a book. It doesn't. And then lo and behold, as soon as I get kind of angry, they're like, oh my God, it's finished. And I'm like, really? Is it? Shocker. And then I order the books, and I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna go ahead and spring for this express printing because I got like 70 books that I need delivered. Like, I need y'all to not play with me. Right now. And then where they at? The paperbacks arrive a whole like week ahead of time. And I'm like, why, God? Why is this happening? And again, gotta go yell at somebody and be like, where are my books? Like, how long does it take to print these books? I would like to know because I paid for express. And I was like, hey, look, I paid for express printing, which comes in 3 days. If it takes 10 business days for this thing to print, I want a refund, because ain't no way. And lo and behold, I got a shipping notification later that day, same business day. And I'm like, y'all are so full of displeasantry. Y'all are so full of displeasantry. It just upsets me, but it is what it is. I just scratched the crap out of myself because I was angry. That hurt. Ow. Way to go, Chelsea. You're just hurting yourself for no reason. It's fine. It's totally fine. I'm okay. Just bleeding a little bit, but I'll be fine. But that being said, I spent this whole time talking about the boycott. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is supporting Black books. And this one I think is going to be quick. But there are relevant links down at the bottom of the description box. Okay, I'm sorry. Margaret cracked me up. Would I pay for a copy of one of Chelsea's strongly worded emails to Ingram? Yes, I would. Honestly, the group chat be wild sometimes. Not gonna lie. Because I'm like, shout out to La and Tatiana who are like, I don't think you could say this. And I'm like, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, I don't think you should say this. Ben is also really good at making sure that I don't say anything crazy. But yeah. But no, okay. I think this was going to be a little bit quicker, but there, and if it's not, we'll talk about it in the after chat. So this is your reminder. If you're watching this, sign up for the after chat. $5 gets you in, $10 gets you into the DNF to book club. You got 10 minutes. You can sign up for the Patreon, or you can join the channel. Whichever one makes you happy. They get you the exact same things. It just depends on what platform you want to go through. So yeah. If I don't finish talking here, we'll finish this conversation in the after chat. But for those of you who don't know, I think today is the release day for Oathbound by Tracy Dion, which, congrats to her. Fantastic. I am not a Legend-born girly, so just going to preface this entire conversation with that. I am not one of the stans. I am not. But I do think it's interesting how some of the conversation around her book has unfolded in the lead up to Oathbound's release, because obviously we are a community. We see things, we're here to talk about it. But there was a bookstore. Well, first of all, let's go back. Oathbound was coming out, and what is the one by Yaros? What is it? Onyx Storm or something like that? The third book of Fourth Wings series came out, and it had this really big marketing push, right? And one of those marketing pushes was midnight releases at certain locations, right? Which is all cool, fun, dandy, great, whatever. But then some way or another, the conversation became, why is Oathbound not getting the same treatment? This is racist. And it became this conversation of we want midnight releases. And so some of these bookstores were like, okay, we hear you. we support, we're about it, let's do it. And the one bookstore in particular was like, hey, last week or something like that, with like leading up to the release, they were like, hey, you guys asked for this midnight release, we organized it, but if we don't sell more tickets to this event, we're going to have to cancel it. And they got all of this like support and outpouring of love on the internet, right? But then like a couple of days later, they were like, look, we didn't have enough people purchase tickets, so we're going to have to cancel this event, right? And it kind of became this conversation of people not actually supporting things. And I kind of find that interesting, right? Because one, as someone who organizes things with people and has organized things, I can tell you that it is a fact that people will be loud about things on the internet, and then you organize it, and then you do the thing, and then you tell them, okay, it's time, and then they do not participate. I say that from the experience of running an online database of books by Black authors that is free. And whenever I talk about doing something, whenever I talk about, hey, support us, join our Patreon, join our event, donate, crickets, literally crickets. And mind you, in order to join, in order to support, we have a $5 tier. It's $5 a month, right? So we're not talking crazy numbers here. We're not talking crazy numbers here. And if you pay for a year up front, you get a 10% discount through Patreon. So we are not talking crazy numbers for most people. We are talking about a nice dinner somewhere, right? Like a singular nice dinner somewhere for the cost of a year to support this, right? And I can tell by the amount of traffic that we get. I can tell by the amount of tags that we get on social media. People use the site, which is great, but ask me how many people monetarily support the site. Completely different number, a minuscule fraction of that number, right? We're not even a double-digit percentage of that number of people who actually use it, right? So with that in mind, and I'm also applying that logic to, okay, if you have a brick and mortar bookstore, to a certain extent, by the time you actually get into a location, I'm going to assume that you understand that there are a lot of people who are verbally supportive and not monetarily supportive, right? And so when these events come together, it's like you have to do your research. You have to really think about it, right? And it's kind of like I'm not blaming the bookstore at all, but it's also one of those things as a community where I think we have to be careful about the things that we ask for and then not show up for, right? And I think there are a lot of things that go into it, right, that are unfortunate, I'll say, for everyone involved. I think it could it have been better planned, for sure. Could it have come together differently, for sure. I talked about this in our Discord server, but I'm like, if I had done it, I would have been like, okay, I see your call for wanting this, but I would have been like, okay, we will talk about doing one for the next book in the series, because the series is still ongoing. We'll talk about doing a midnight release for the next book in the series, and then just maybe have like a launch party or invite Tracy to the store or do something to celebrate the book that's not going to put you in a financial risk, because one of the things was like, oh, people have to pay for tickets. The author's not going to be there. And, it's on a midnight on a Tuesday, right? So there are certain details that are inconvenient, but it's also the fact of the price is not necessarily worth it for the consumer, right? But I also understand from the bookstore's aspect why they have to charge for tickets, because you have to open your store at a time that is not normally open. You have to buy the books, you have to buy snacks, you have to buy drinks, you have to put together an event, and that requires money, and you need people to RSVP so that you know how many people are coming, because if people pay for a ticket, they're more likely to show up than if you say it's a free event and come through if you can, especially at midnight. So I understand the business logic behind it, but I think it not happening and then the community collectively being like, y'all didn't come through, I feel like that's odd. I feel like that's a little, it doesn't sit right with me, because it's like, it's not about supporting the bookstore. It's not about supporting the author. It's about this perceived idea of equality. And mind you, I'm not a fourth wing girly either, right? But if you're watching this, I challenge you to go look up Blood Marked, which is the second book of Tracy's series, and then to go look up Iron Flame, which is the second book of Rebecca Yarros' series. Just look at how many reviews they have. Look at how many ratings they have on Goodreads. Unfortunately, the reality of it is, as much as we like to forget this sometimes and don't like to admit it, publishing is a business. The numbers have to make sense. And if you go and look, I believe Tracy has like 12,000 reviews, roughly rounded, right? She's got like roughly 12,000 reviews, which is incredible, right? Rebecca has like 200,000 reviews. We are not talking in the same ballpark at this point. So yes, the third book of the series, of the book that got 200,000 reviews on the second book in a series, got a larger marketing push than the one that got 12,000 reviews. It's not comparable. And also they are with different publishers. Their books have been out for different amounts of time. There's a lot that goes into it that I feel like sometimes the public book community don't take into account. They're just like, oh, but she didn't get this. And it's just like, it's not about Black characters or anything like that. Sometimes it's just straight up numbers. And I know that sounds unfair, but if we're talking about the third book of a series, from a marketing aspect, we also have to keep in mind that you're not marketing to new readers with the third book of a series. You're marketing to the people who read the second book of the series, which is smaller than the amount of people who read the first book of the series. And if you're looking at reviews and how many people love them, some people are loud, but if your main reason for buying a book is because it's by a Black author and not because you absolutely love it, that's also something else to consider. So I'm not saying that is the only reason. I'm not saying that her books are not good. I'm not saying that is not worth the marketing push. I'm not implying any of that. I'm saying that when it comes to supporting Black authors and supporting Black books, I feel like we have to consider all of the variables that go into it. And maybe it's just because I publish my own books and I understand how numbers work, especially when you're trying to pitch your book, when you're marketing it yourself, and how those numbers come into play. So I just kind of maybe look at it from a different perspective, but I think there's more that goes into it. And I feel like we have to move away. I feel like we have to enter an era of moving away from buy this book simply because it's Black. And I feel like we need to move into an era where it's like, buy this book by this Black author because it's amazing. Right? I feel like we have to get to that point. And I feel like we also have to support Black bookstores that are doing these things, because the thing is, I feel like it's all tied together. Because if this midnight book launch had worked for Tracy, it could have worked for an indie author. And that's impactful, you know? Let's see here. Only 3% of folks who say they'll do something online actually do it. Yeah, it's minimal. It's crazy minimal, and it's hard. That's why a lot of these bookstores that want to be brick and mortar, they really need a solid business plan, because even the most successful bookstores are like, we fight tooth and nail for this. It is not an easy thing to do. And to be able to do events takes money, it takes support, it takes time, it takes energy, it takes a lot. So yeah, let's see here. Vina said, I've seen a lot of indie bookstores relying on GoFundMes to keep them afloat. And that's not a solid business plan. I can tell you that running a database, asking for donations, being your business plan is not a business plan. That's why we have a Patreon. That's why we have, we do have donations available. That's why we offer the Melanin Spotlight. So if you are watching this and you want to promote with the Melanin Library, you can pay for that and we'll help each other out. We'll promote your book and you'll be helping to support the library. You have to have other plans in place. Let's see here. Some of the people promoting the event lived nowhere near the bookstore. I think that's also significant. Like, if you're going to travel, because let me be real with you right now. If Resist is doing like a big event, I'm going. Like, I live 8 hours away. I'm still going to go. I'm still going to go. But that's because I support Resist and what they do, and I believe in their store and what Demetrius is doing and how he does it and how he supports his community and pours back into it and all of the work that he does, not just for traditionally published authors, but for indie authors as well, right? And specifically Black authors. Like, what he does is meaningful to the community in really significant ways. So even if I'm 8 hours away, I'm still going to promote. I'm still going to support, right? Because I'm going to drive 8 hours to go. But I also feel like if you are going to promote, if you're going to be loud about it, you need to be one of the people who show up. Don't just be a cheerleader who never actually goes to the game, you know? So, yeah. Let's see here. Onyx Storm is also in a different age category on top of being a white author book. We will talk about that in the after chat. Yeah, we'll talk about that in the after chat because I feel like that also plays into it. And let's see here. Support the current Black authored events, and the dedication is driving 8 hours for an event. Yeah, I mean, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show, if I get invited to a Black bookstore, I'm going to go. If I can make it, I'm going to go. I'm going to support. I'm going to show up. I'm going to do what I can do. Especially if that bookstore is, I'll say, respectful of my time and of me as an author. Because I have been places where they were just like, we don't care if you're here. And I was like, cool, you ain't got to worry about me coming back. But if it's a place that feels like a community, it feels welcoming, it feels supportive, and I can really get behind what they're doing, then yeah, like I'm going to show up. I'm going to do what I can do. And I'm going to tell my audience about it because it may not be the hugest on the internet, but it exists. It exists. But yeah, that being said, we are going to get ready to move over to the after chat. So this is your final reminder to sign up either through Patreon or join the channel. Couple of housekeeping things for the public before we sign off. I want to let you guys know that I am doing a book club, which is, I know, kind of crazy considering that I tell you guys all the time that I don't finish reading books. But we're doing a book club. It's called the DNF Book Club, which I'm really excited about it. It's going to be me, La Purvis, and Tatiana OB. And we have a schedule actually put together at this point. We have the books, we have the dates, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great. It's called the DNF Book Club because you have to respect the book, not finish it. And it'll be a space for us to have genuine, in-depth discussions about books authored by Black authors. So if that sounds interesting to you, feel free to join. It is $10 to get into the book club, so go ahead and get into it. But please keep in mind that $10 will go to supporting this channel. It will go to supporting the Melanin Library. It will go to supporting everything that Written in Melanin does and plans to do. And hopefully that will be another anthology in the future, as well as some events that we are hoping to do, as well as paying the people who help us behind the scenes. So there are a lot of good goals that this money goes toward. We're not just ripping you off to be like, we're going to charge you $10 to get into a book club. So there you go. That being said, I appreciate you guys for being here. We will be back. I will be back next week for some writing sprints, but if you want to come back for the Melon Chat, 2 weeks, 2 weeks and we'll be back. But yeah, I think that's it. If you haven't already, go ahead and tap the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications. If you're watching this in the future, let us know what you think about the book events and it not coming through, and also boycotting KU. I would like to know. And I think that's it. So thank you guys for being here, and until next time, I hope your days are lovely and your books are interesting. Bye, you guys.